Welcome back to Beyond the Buckets. I'm happy to have Devin Hurt. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to be here. I really appreciate it.
Really looking forward to chatting with you, but I usually like to start the show off with a fun fact. So you got to give me something out there that people may not know about you that might be unique to who you are.
Wow, fun fact. I always hate these. I think a funny one, considering we are going to talk about sports and beyond the buckets. I used to be really serious about chess. So I was like competing in like national chess tournaments, kind of through middle school and fell off it. Maybe like first year, freshman year of high school, something like that. But that's a funny one. Shout out to Nico, one of my team members, who had no idea, and that just like blew his mind. So
Wow. Yeah. Chess is such a great game, such an intellectual game. And you're thinking, three, four, five, even 10 moves ahead as you're moving the pieces on the board. So I've always loved chess. I used to play it as well, not at the competitive level, but it's just a really great game. One that just takes a lot of knowledge and really getting good at and studying the pieces and what plays go where. Did you watch the chess show on Netflix? What was that called? The Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. Unfortunately, not. I've done so bad with Netflix. Just I with the startup got super busy, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to make up the time right now. So it's on my list, and I'm trying to blow through things.
It's an amazing show, and you would think that a show based on chess wouldn't be too popular, but it's a very popular show, and they did a really good job articulating like what it takes to be a high level chess player and just the work ethic needed and required to actually play at that level. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, you definitely got to check that out.
Most definitely, I can't wait.
So tell me a little background story about you for all the listeners that may not know who you are.
Hi everyone. So I'm Devin Hurt. I'm from Long Island, New York. Pretty much lived my entire life there. I went to Harvard in from 2014 to 2018. There I studied bioengineering. And I guess that's kind of where the part of this story starts and my story with working in sports starts. I was always a sports fan, played sports through high school, but nothing too serious. Then in college I played club lacrosse, started doing MMA, but I started seeing more careers in sports when I was in college. I did a consulting project for the NBA. I graduated and went to work for Nike. And then, of course, I started Prediction Strike, the startup that we'll kind of get into a little bit later. But that's kind of the relevant background. That kind of takes us to 2018. In 2018, I started working at Nike. I was working on Prediction Strike at the same time. And then I left Nike in 2020 and been working on the startup ever since. But that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah. So talk to me about your experience at Harvard. My cousin went to Harvard undergrad, and she played basketball there. So I kind of know a little bit about it. But tell me about your experience. There's not a ton of minorities on there, but they do a great job in regards to African Americans and just being in a community there. So she had a great experience there. I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
No, I definitely had a great experience there. They always say that the best part about the school is the people. And that's really true. There's so many people who are great in so many ways, and that's beyond just academia. There are people who are incredibly book smart on one subject, on all subjects, on things that you might not have thought people would have already learned at this point. Like some people maybe just speak a lot of languages, things like that, or are very good at their instrument. Of course, great athletes. And you're right. The school is I mean it's probably a little bit less diverse than the country is, but in general it still is diverse. There are communities for kind of everyone, and excuse me. And I always felt like there was for whoever you are, there is a community for you. Whether that's kind of a community based on your background, community based on your hobbies, your kind of what your academic interest is, whatever that is, there's going to be other people there for you who are trying to do that thing at the highest level and who are also just cool people you want to hang out with, which is maybe most important for when it comes to stuff outside the classroom.
Yeah, for sure. There's a bunch of different references in the Bible to iron sharpens iron and being around other people that are doing great things. It gives you the opportunity to see the hard work that it takes to be at those levels. And also, just it just wears on you, being around somebody that's so great. I've been able to be around a lot of high level performers, whether it be business or NBA players or WNBA players, and that really rubs off on you. The work ethic that you see, and most importantly, what I found is the attention to detail in certain things. So being able to really focus in on certain fundamentals, if it's basketball or certain business fundamentals, is so important. So talk about some of those things that you learn by just being on that campus.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, that the first point is maybe huge, maybe the biggest that you were making, that being around people who are operating at that level, some of it just rubs off on you, and you learn so much of it that way. You see, one can be inspired by these people, because now it's like, oh, they're around, they do this, I can learn from them on how to do this. But also, it's that you can talk to them, you can ask them for advice, and that is huge. So that's definitely one of the biggest things. Also, just the value in people, in working, in networking, in being a good person, someone that people want to work with, is maybe one of the most important things, because you have a bunch of people who are incredibly book smart and incredibly intelligent and probably incredibly hardworking. But another thing is just what separates people at some level is your personality, right? You can kind of grab when you have 10 brilliant people in a room. Is there really a difference in how much work they can get done? Maybe not, but there's a difference to the type of people they can work with and how much they can work with people.
Those are two really good points. And being a good team player as a basketball coach, you understand how the team dynamics go, and you can be really great at a particular skill or a great all-around player. But if you don't mesh well with the other players, if you don't make everybody else around you better, it makes it very difficult for you to thrive in a system where you have to rely on somebody else for the outcome that you're really looking for. So I think that's a really great thing. And one thing that you also touched on that I really enjoyed was the reaching out to other people. As men, in particular, Black men, we have a problem sometimes going out and reaching out to people and asking them for help. Well, I read this quote from Emmitt Smith, and he was trying to talk to Michael Jordan about business. And Emmitt's like, why didn't you explain all this stuff to me before? And he said, well, you didn't ask. And so at the time he asked, he was able to show him all these things that he was able to do with his businesses and Jordan Brand and all that. But he never asked prior to that, so he was never getting that knowledge. And so that was one thing that I've always taken from taking advice from other people, asking them, because people want to help. If you are open to listening to what they have to say. It doesn't mean that you're going to take that same blueprint and use it, but you're going to take that knowledge and use it in your own way.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, no one is going to be as intentional about your career and your future as you are. So until you ask someone, they're not going to be, sometimes people do, and people love to just sit around and think, how can I help you? Or, oh, I met this person would be great for you to know and work with. But you have to remember, people have just as much going on in their lives as you do. They have their families, maybe they have kids, a spouse, they have a job that's probably pretty stressful. So they're not going to be sitting around just thinking about how to help you. But like you said, most people are very kind and very willing to help if you ask and they know that you're serious about it.
For sure. So you spent some time at Nike, and one of my favorite books is by Phil Knight, one of his memoirs. And it's an extremely fascinating book to how Nike was even created, even down to how the logo was created, the slogans, the shoes. And they talked about the previous shoe company, the Tiger, where he was kind of figuring out all this stuff and how he would do these relations overseas in China and things of that nature. And just like the process in which he was able to build this brand, which was actually called Blue Ribbon. The company, people don't realize that Nike was called Blue Ribbon when they officially opened, and Nike didn't come until later. But tell me about your time at Nike. What did you learn from being there? Were you at the Nike corporate in Beaverton, Oregon, or were you working out, remotely? So tell me about your time with Nike.
For sure. So I did work for Nike corporate. I did cybersecurity there, which was really interesting. So I've always had an interest in computer science. It's something I kind of got more serious about in college, but it was really cool to see what it's like to apply computer science principles and this idea of cybersecurity to a company that's not a tech company. A lot of my experience was at Google, Microsoft. I interned kind of both those places. That's just core tech. Every day and every conversation is about this new technology we're releasing, or how do we make a better profit off this other technology that's out, right? Whereas Nike is, of course, their business is not that. It's everything is in the physical world. It's everything is about I have to get you to fall in love with these clothes or sell you on this athlete's vision. So it was really interesting to go there and see kind of okay, so what are their cybersecurity challenges? And for them, a lot of that relates, of course, to managing the consumer relationship and things of that nature. But also, it's in some ways about making cybersecurity kind of the quietest people there, right? When the cybersecurity is in the spotlight, something's gone wrong. Like it's like we like they want us to hold it down, but it's never like it should never be like this is the focus of what's going on because that's usually something, right? Whenever you hear about a company that's not a tech company and their cybersecurity something or another, they probably got hacked. So
For sure.
that's always the goal.
So,
Um,
so tell me, double tap on the cybersecurity. What are for somebody who is a novice at cybersecurity and things like that? What does that actually mean for somebody that has no clue what cybersecurity is, and what are the threats that would take place to either the company and or the consumer if something were to break down like that?
sure. In general, cybersecurity refers to maintaining the the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability. That's kind of the triad that they try and highlight of the information systems at the company. So think making sure the website is up, available, that they can actually kind of do transactions, right? You can't sell shoes with the website down. Or you can't sell shoes if the handheld payment processors in the stores don't work. Um, Making sure things stay of course confidential. So making sure that financial information is not getting leaked out to the public or to competitors or things like that. Um, Making sure that also just people aren't just able to manipulate data. So what if someone was able to get into the Nike systems? Now everything on the website's $1, and you're only getting charged $1, or maybe you're only seeing $1 for the on the website, but you're getting charged full price, right? Like that, absolute disaster. So it's about maintaining all of those systems and the kind of risk that you see with a company like Nike. Like you mentioned, it is twofold because you have all the risks of having a large multinational corporation. So Nike has a lot of proprietary information people want. Uh, People just love to try and take down big companies. They want to just take down their website just to say they did it. And then there's also the consumer relationship. So Nike has millions and millions of people have Nike.com accounts, and people want that information. Nike is very careful about credit cards and credit card processing. So there's also PCI compliance. So making sure that everything that is relates to credit cards is either outsourced appropriately or managed internally appropriately. Because I mean that's also kind of another worst case scenario. Everyone's credit cards are out there. Um, and also just another thing not to forget is Nike has all of those Nike athletes. So making sure the information that pertains to either the athletes, their contracts, information about the athletes' physical bodies or things like that that they don't want out there stays locked in. You can imagine obviously how important those athletes are and just how I mean they're public figures. People want to know stuff about them, and maybe that's stuff that they don't need to know, or maybe it's stuff that can be used against them by a competitor, or even so. I mean, now we talk about the rise of sports betting. Maybe someone gets some information that allows them to make a bet in a game that now you have kind of this even larger problem, right? Now someone's committed a fraudulent bet using stolen information, and now it's like, okay, whose fault is it along this whole chain? So there's just tons and tons of different risks that Nike really sees every day.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you can kind of get some insight to all the things that a business has to go through, whether that be consumer driven, whether that be protecting yourselves legally, whether that be cybersecurity. If your website goes down for this amount of time, how much is that going to actually cost the company? And like you said, a multinational with millions of users, it's just a lot of issues that can take place. And if you don't have parameters in place, if you don't have all of these things or your ducks in a row, it can really go downhill very fast. And that's why there are so many people that work not just on product, but also securing different things like this. So I'm glad that we were able to at least show some of the listeners what to look for when you're running such a big organization. When you run a smaller company, the threats are a little bit different. And when you get to this level of a huge corporation like a Nike, like a Google, Microsoft, you named a bunch of them that you've spent some time with, there's just a lot to think about.
Most definitely, most definitely. And I mean, now as big as computers are, a lot of the growth of computers in the workplace and in corporate life came a lot faster than the growth of security in the workplace. And so there's a lot of kind of backtracking going on, especially. I mean, there was a crazy period of. I felt like it was uh, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, but it was like every month you would hear about some big company that got hacked and consumer details were released, and it's like a lot of companies learn their lesson really fast. You don't want to be in the news for that.
No doubt. So tell me, what type of kid were you when you were growing up? Were you always an analytical kid? Were you always into, computer science and that sort of thing? And kind of what sparked your interest in getting deeper into it as you went from high school to college and now where you're at?
Sure. So I think I was always analytical. Like I mentioned, I played chess. I also played viola in through high school. Did some other things of that nature. So I was like pretty analytical, pretty academic. I liked computers a lot growing up, something I spent a lot of time doing. Grew up as an only child, so I spent a lot of time just on the computer. But a big thing for me was, okay, well, how can I learn from this computer? Like, how does it work? How can I learn how other things work, other electronics work, just general engineering things, stuff that I was really interested in. Really, since I kind of got my first computer or I guess we as a family had the first family computer when I was like 6, something like that. And I would just sit on there and just try and learn what I could. When I got to high school, I was able to I think I took 3 computer science classes. And that was really interesting to me. It was kind of like, oh, it's how do these things actually get on this page? And then so it was a lot of learning, a lot of baseline learning there. And then in college was when I really got to see kind of what it looks like as a career path. And I mean, I think that's what college is for many people. It's growing up, you don't really know that many jobs. Kind of what your parents do, what your best friend's parents do, maybe. And then I feel like it's like teacher. I just saw a joke that's like, so for some reason, going into college, everyone thought marine biologist was like top 6 jobs in America. Like it was just like a known thing, but like there's like not that many, right? But you get to college, you
Yeah.
actually see what's out there. What is working in this look like? What would I be doing all day? And Harvard, of course, has a solid, great, wonderful computer science program. So I was able to get there and learn from people who are such leaders in the field and really just branch out and just understand what it would look like.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, college is a time to investigate what path you want to take. And my undergrad was in psychology as well as human performance, and then my master's is in education. But the biggest lessons that I've learned is, and you probably can say the same thing, is probably when you interned at those places, when you worked at those places. And so you got to see kind of like from soup to nuts as far as how it's done in the background with the computer science. And then you got to actually see every day the life application. And I was in sales for nine years after college, and it had nothing to do with the degrees that I had, but learning every day the marketing part, the business part, and face-to-face interactions and selling people on your products, it paid dividends. And I learned from a great CEO. His name is Ron Felice. He's still a mentor to me to this day, but he walked me through the whole process, and he didn't have to. I was just a young kid out of college that was just looking for an opportunity, and he gave me that. But I still take so many of those principles today, and I use those in the practices that I have for the jobs that I have now. So was there anybody that kind of took you under your wing as you got into some of these places and has kind of been a mentor to you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's been multiple people. Of course, I won't try and list them all, but I have a personal rule about not listing everyone for anything, because you start leaving people out, always looks bad. One person I will highlight, though, is Laura Butler. At the time, she was a distinguished engineer at Microsoft. Um, she really took me under her wing like freshman fall, uh, very early into my college career. And she's, of course, an incredibly accomplished computer scientist, but also just a good person. And she is really good about believing in you, often more than you do. I remember I started my first startup. It was about then, and she was kind of the one who I was telling her, I was explaining like I my formal major was bioengineering, but I liked this intersection of computer science and bioengineering, or the human body. I was telling her about like this my idea for like this medical records platform, and it's like, yeah, these are the problems, and it would be so cool if like this, that, and the other. And she's like, why don't you just turn that into a startup? And it's like, what do you mean? It's like, she's like, that person's like, you can do it. I will be here for you. I've seen a lot more than you have in this world. I can kind of guide you and serve as a resource to you, but why don't you just go out there and get out there and see what happens? So she's been someone who's been instrumental in my life kind of forever. She was also our first investor in this current startup. So just someone who's really just been there since I started.
So she really believes in you then, huh?
Yeah, exactly, right? So since 18 years old, she was that person who's been there for me. And like you said, she really believes in me enough that she took money out of her own bank account and gave it to me, gave it to us to turn it into something else.
Wow, I love that. Love hearing that story. And a lot of times, even as a coach, you may see something in somebody that they don't even see, as you mentioned. And that really is the spring that people need to be ignited. One of my other favorite books is called The Talent Code. And so at a young age, if you are ignited in a certain thing, they talk about like these particular hotbeds wherever like there's a lot of success. And it happens because the kid gets ignited by somebody or something or a coach or a teacher that is allowing them. So say you play piano and this piano teacher is able to show you how to play in a different way that just speaks to you. And then you become a master at it at an earlier age. Obviously, you have to put the work in and things like that, but it's because somebody ignited you. And you said that her name was Laura?
Yes.
So Laura ignited you at the age of 18, empowered you to see things that you may not be able to see or in a different way, and kind of gave you that kick in the pants. It was like, hey, you can do this. And that's a lot what life is about. Our parents are obviously there for us too, but sometimes it's somebody that's not close to us that believes in us is the one that's like, hey, this is it. I have kids, and at some point they're not gonna want to listen to me all the time. They're gonna want to listen to other people, and I think that's a really special thing. So shout out to Laura as we continue. But that kind of leads me into the next question, which is like entrepreneurship, because your major wasn't about business at the time, but you've kind of now gone into this progression. So talk to me about going in school with this one idea and now transforming that into your entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think you can become an entrepreneur in two ways. So I'll start there. I think one is you actively set out and you say, "Look, I'm going to work on my own thing," and maybe that is a singular thing or just you in general are that's what you want to do, right? You just kind of want to work for yourself, or you can kind of fall into it, and that's what happened with us. Me and my co-founder Brad has been my best friend for years and years. For us, it was we just planned to kind of take jobs, corporate jobs, and kind of go from there, right? Step one, get a job, and then you can kind of figure it out, right? You're employed. And we fell into starting the startup. We found something that we just in a conversation between us, we thought was a good idea. And we're like, okay, are there more people out there like us? We kind of released a beta out into the world, and it's like, okay, there's people greater than zero people care, right? That when we kept validating along the way to see that okay, enough people care this can actually be something.
So, talk to me about your startup company, which is Prediction Strike. Which, if I butcher this, you can correct me. But basically, you are an online platform, and it's very similar to the stock market, but you're using athletes as the company. So you can invest in one of my favorite athletes, Steph Curry, and you put money into him. And when he's doing well, and when other people are buying, now your profits are going to rise up. Just like if Google or Nike is doing well with their earnings, and more people buy into the company, understanding that hopefully they can see a return on their investment. That is how it goes. So I think in doing my research for this program, if you were to get Tom Brady his rookie year, and you got Tom Brady at, let's say, $2, and now it's worth $100 per share, obviously you now made money. So did I get that correct? And is that kind of the premise behind your startup company?
You killed it. No, you killed it. That's exactly it, right? It's this idea that you can either invest in your favorite athletes. I'm a Steph Curry fan too. Um,
There you go.
those of you at home, not sure if you see the poster on the wall, but yep,
Yeah.
we got a Steph Curry poster on the wall. Um, maybe maybe it's your favorite athlete. Maybe it is the athlete from your hometown, the athlete who went to your college, or maybe you knew in college or like sat next to a class or something, or that athlete who you just knew was gonna blow up. Like how I don't know who was, but I'm sure someone out there knew Tom Brady would be good. I don't know about this good, but right, like someone out there called it. Now imagine you had bought that stock then, and you were like, guys, I know it, I'm right. And then he becomes Tom Brady, and it's like, oh, I was right, and everyone else is like, wait, how'd you know that, right? But that's kind of that is what we have for the real stock market. I mean, people buy stocks for different reasons, but there's no reason that I mean, people apply that same calculus to athletes. And to me, everyone has an intrinsic value associated with an athlete, whether they kind of put that into dollars, that's kind of a toss up. But it's like you think so and so is overplayed, underplayed, overpaid, underpaid, overrated, underrated, just needs to change teams and then they're in a better situation. Whatever it is, or maybe their coach is whatever it is, people have those opinions on athletes. And so now it's like, let's just put a dollar sign to that.
Right. Well, so many people have made livings check every morning on ESPN or Fox Sports, and you see people talking about these athletes ad nauseum over and over and over, and usually about the same topic for 3 to 5 days. And so tell me this, because my friends and I, we have these discussions about blockchain and NFTs and things like that. So the stock market would be considered an investment as well, because it's an asset. If you have a big stock portfolio, you have a lot of assets. And obviously those assays can fluctuate depending on how they are either growing or declining. NFTs are something that is not really an asset unless you can sell it. So it's more of a commodity or something that people want, but they don't really need. There's really no money value. The only money value is similar to art, right? Like I may look at this piece and say it's worth $1 million, and if somebody's willing to pay for it, then yes, it could be an asset, but it's not necessarily that. So tell me how it works within this, because people are actually using real money on your platform. And do they get real money in return? So like blockchain, you can sometimes, exchange the currency for USD, or you can keep it in the blockchain or move it to other blockchains. So tell me how all of this works, because I'm really fascinated by all these things, whether it be the stock market, blockchain, NFTs, all of that. I just love it. And sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around all these different things. So I'm interested in your answer here.
Yeah, I think our goal, or our goal was to make this a logical extension of the stock market. So to feel sort of that way. So now take if you had the stock market and there were all the company names were just player names. We wanted it to feel as close to that. So what does that mean? That means kind of as you buy and sell those shares, it will transfer into cash, similar to how if you went and sold some of your portfolio right now. And then now you can choose what to do with that. Do you reinvest it into other stocks, or do you just withdraw that cash and kind of take your money? And so on your point about is it a commodity, is it an investment? It's funny because we have people who see it as both. Some people see it as a way to get closer to their favorite athletes. Like people are like, look, this is just my guy. I'm gonna ride with him. Like, just whatever, wherever he is, I'm there. Or this is my team. And that's how people would see maybe a collectible more so than a stock. How they might see a jersey or something like that. It's just like I gotta savor this moment, right? But other people look at it more as an investment, like, this guy's next up. This is how I make my money right here. So that we have kind of that full spread of psychology there, which is honestly what we want. We want you as a user to be able to define how you enjoy it, because you define how you enjoy sports. You are the one who says, like, I just like the game as a whole. I'm just gonna watch it. Maybe you're a stat junkie. Maybe it's like I just need, you know, I just need Steph to win another ring. Like whatever it is, there's a reason you watch it, or maybe maybe it's just to get closer to your friends. Maybe it's just to brag and tell your friends you were right. So we also want you to be able to do that. Like we don't want to define how your experience is. We want to give you the ability to enhance the sports experience you already have.
And how does the stock increase? Is it based on their level of performance? Like if Steph dropped 40 tonight, I think they play Brooklyn tonight.
They do.
But if he drops 40 tonight, does his stock automatically increase, or is it based on team success? Also, how does it drop? Is it because it's not like you see the earnings that they're bringing in? So okay, the investment is obviously going to probably rise up because more people are putting money into it. And like, what does it look in the off season too? Like, is it just a dead stock, or does it stay packed, or can it fluctuate in the off season too?
So, I mean, it's funny you bring up earnings actually. We said that we wanted to try and make each game kind of feel like an earnings report. And I know with athletes, obviously there's a financial earnings component, but the earnings report for a company is all right. Let's check how is this company actually performing. So we said you actually playing the game is how you're performing. So if Steph crushes it tonight, yep, his stock will automatically go up. Whereas if he just drops 5 points, it is automatically going to go down.
And
then,
who's controlling if it goes up or down?
So there's one side that we control that is formulaic, which is kind of just what we spoke about now, based on how the player performs relative to how they're expected to perform. So Steph's bump for dropping 40 is not going to be the same as like Caruso's bump for dropping 40, right? Uh, no one's expecting Caruso to do that. So there's that aspect to it. And then the other aspect is other users buying and selling. So how popular are they? You know, can you have a stock of an athlete, and other people just kind of keep putting money into it just to shoot the price up? That can definitely happen. So it's really, we wanted to have both factors, both the user popularity component as well as the on-card performance, like this objective measure of how they're playing.
Sure. And you guys are almost in year 2 now?
Year two of our of being publicly launched. Yep, we did a year of closed beta.
And so, tell me how that process worked. Did you guys do like a family round of investment? Did you do an initial seed round? And I know you have some investments already, but talk to me about that investment process because you need money to do something like this.
You do. We raised friends and family money. So that happened at first, and that was the angel round. And we had done multiple angel rounds, really kind of different sizes as we grew. And then the big money kind of came with this last round. So it was our first venture round. We officially announced that this fall, and that was from Mac Venture Partners and New Age Venture Partners. Um, just great teams to work with, and just really happy.
And what valuation did you guys have for that round with the venture capitalist firm?
That was at $6.5 million.
And I'm gonna do my Shark Tank thing. And what was that based on? How many users did you guys have on the platform?
Oh, at that point, we had we had several thousand users, and that's kind of what what's been released publicly. We had several thousand users, and we've completed millions of dollars in transactions already.
Gotcha. And where are the finances housed? Like if I go on and I invest $1,000 right now, is that where is that housed?
That's housed in a U.S. bank account tied to Prediction Strike. Kind of user deposits get funneled in there, and they're secured that way.
Got it. That's so it's interesting because that would keep me up at night for sure. What if everybody like sold off everything one night? I would just be freaking out. But I'm sure you guys have parameters in place to levy against that. But that's really amazing. And tell me about like what was your pitch to these investors on how to understand the product and what was your vision and how did they begin to see your vision for this?
Sure. I mean, the big pitch was this idea of a sports stock market, like of one sports stock market, this unified experience that shows how these athletes are are um are doing and how fans perceive them. And we don't have a one true measure like that. And so that's been maybe the biggest part of the vision, right? If you want to talk about how an athlete does, there's tons of stats and things like that. And you can kind of I mean, you can have stats that are going to show just about anything right now with as advanced of stats have gotten. And then also, of course, you have like social media followers, jersey sales, things like that people like to tap into. But that doesn't necessarily give you the singular value that encapsulates it all, right? Because if you are in the business of sports or even a fan of the game, you want to see this combination of how good is someone and how many people care. This is the one number that will distill it down. So that has just been huge. And I think people get that. You know, depending on how much of a sports fan you are, the actual in-game mechanics may or may not make sense to you, or they'll make different levels of sense. But this idea of one true market, it does make sense because it's like the stock market, and that's all we want.
Or do you have any competitors out there?
Not really. There was a UK company that had attempted something very similar, um, but they have since kind of sunsetted, and there's nothing in the States, right? There's not this long-term vision of a sports stock market. People, I guess they're just not seeing it yet, but they'll be seeing it soon.
Do you think there would be an opportunity to partner with like groups like FanDuel and some of these other betting sites because you can kind of see the parallels between both. Like I would think of like a FanDuel as being like a day trading type. I'm trading. I'm getting paid out that day after the game.
Yep.
Things like that. This would be more of a long term investment. So like, all right, I'm gonna ride this stock. I'm gonna ride Steph till the wheels fall off. And I'm gonna see how long it is. Obviously you're gonna have this, and then it's gonna drop this. So do you think there be some parallels with maybe partnering with somebody like that, or even selling to them and looking at that possibility as well?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, definitely. We're getting to that stage where we are opening up some of those doors and trying to see what makes sense. But I mean, it does. Your point about it's kind of like how do you philosophically see a bet versus an investment? Um, and FanDuel, right? FanDuel, DraftKings, that is the day trading aspect of it. So if you see the stock market as a purely day trading vehicle, that's kind of what you have. Whereas if you see it long term, right, you do have us. And so there is a lot of synergy there, and there's also just a lot of the consumer is often the same, or we have some people who do both, right? If
Right.
you if you're a sports fan, if you're using our platforms, any of them, so there is a lot of overlap in how people are thinking about sports and how they're willing to spend their discretionary income on sports.
Yeah. And if you want to give me a 1% advisory share for the advice, I'm just kidding. That's really cool, man. Like I never would have thought about it like that, and it's just a new way to look at things. Like we've been talking about, NFTs and blockchain have kind of changed what the landscape is, and I feel like this is something that can also change the landscape. Why would it? Why would we not? Are there any athletes that are in particular like interested in your product and potentially partnering?
There definitely are. Nothing's official yet, so we can't disclose it. But yes, I mean for the athletes, there's a lot of value in just the information about, right. Imagine if you're an athlete, you could see where you're popular or how just how popular you are compared to the other athletes. That could carry a lot of leverage as you start thinking about where you might want to get traded to. How much should that shoe deal be worth? All those types of things, I mean, are huge for athletes because a lot of the numbers they have are less direct and less concrete than some of the data we can generate.
Would it be a conflict of interest for an athlete to invest in themselves and or other players or even teammates?
No, we don't see it as that, and the reason is you can't short the stocks. So I think if you could short it, um, you're going to start getting into a lot of different problems. Whereas, for example, um, that's essentially betting against the performance. So now if an athlete's betting against themselves, they just throw the game, right? Or I think it was like there was that college basketball game where they had bet the players themselves or something like that had bet that they would score under a certain amount of points. So they just went out there and scored under that certain amount of points, right? It's not that hard. Whereas for us, it's only upside. You benefit by people doing well. So if you're betting, if you're buying shares and investing in your teammates, I mean, you hope they do well anyway. Those are kind of the same incentives that you have just as an athlete.
So how can you not short a stock? Like if you were like Ben Simmons, for instance, if his stock was at $10, I don't know what his is on your platform right now, but if it was at $10, now you already know that thing is low right now. It might be, it might be
Yeah.
$2. So you lost 80% of your investment on Ben Simmons if you had him at the beginning of the year compared to last year. So wouldn't that be a semi short based on what he's done? Not even on the court because he's not, but like him not playing.
Right. I guess it would be so it's kind of you would be selling early essentially. You can't short in the same way that you can the real stock market where it's like, okay, I'm shorting at $10. Now for every cent he goes under that $10, I make money directly. We don't have that
Yeah.
sort of mechanism. So you can definitely say, look, I am done. I know I mean, Ben Simmons is kind of done with them. They're done with him, but now they want to show whatever that drama is right now. You can kind of wash your hands of it, but you can't say, "Hey, I need this drama to keep going," because I'm going to make money every dollar that Ben Simmons stock falls. We don't have some money.
Right. So you mentioned Caruso. So if Caruso got all his buddies and said, "Hey, go all in on me," could his stock be similar to like a GameStop where it was like, all right, well this is gonna go all the way, or AMC, and it goes all the way up. And everybody knows Caruso ain't better than Steph, but his number is at this, or GameStop isn't better than Nike or Google, but it's all the way up here. Is that a possibility on the platform too?
Definitely, definitely. And so we want users to have some control. Obviously, those were extreme examples and got out of
Yeah,
control.
for sure.
But I mean, in some ways, that matters a lot, right? You know, it's hard to compare. Like Steph is one of just the most popular players in the league right now. Okay, but
Yeah.
there's guys who are maybe a tier below Steph who are balling but aren't as popular. Like Caruso, like kind of just became a meme. So that matters a lot. Like if you're a
Right.
team that puts butts in seats, that sells jerseys. If you're a shoe company that sells shoe, maybe not. They're probably not going to give him a signature shoe, but like the Caruso T-shirt will probably go crazy.
Right.
People are gonna buy it. So those things matter, and so it does need to reflect that. It's just to a large point.
So the off the court does play into the on the court. So the hype
Yeah,
that surrounds it is obviously something. I think it's really cool, man. That's a really great idea. I'm so happy for you and your partner. What does things look like now on a day to day basis? Now that you have gotten the initial angel rounds and you've gotten some other investment, like what does your day look like on a day to day basis? Because this is obviously something that you're all in on.
yeah. Really, just keep pushing. That's the big thing. Trying to make sure we are aligned on our product, pushing the product forward. Always trying to make a better product. Keep pushing forward on uh, marketing, making sure we have new, intelligent, and efficient ways of marketing. And there's a lot of just stuff. Unfortunately, is the way I keep having to explain it. Is there's so much comes up, and when you're this early and the team is so small, you have to do a little bit of everything. Whether it's all right, we need to redo finance projections. We need to talk to legal. We need to go over this marketing plan because we don't quite like it. Like there's so much that just comes up that it spends a lot of time on. But I mean, as a whole, the goal is just continue to expand the product, continue to create just something bigger and better for our users.
And how many people are on the team now? How many employees do you guys have?
The team is five, including myself.
And so, what time you guys waking up in the morning, or late nights, early mornings type of deal?
Yeah. We're geographically, well, I guess we're distributed across the states. A couple of us East Coast, two of us East Coast, two West Coast, and one is actually bounced back and forth a good amount of time because he has family on both sides. So on the East Coast, we start our first meeting at 8 a.m. And that's kind of, we just get up. It's myself and Brad, my co-founder, align on what the whole company needs to be doing for the day and what we're working on. And the rest of the team, usually about 9 local time, 8 or 9 local time, uh, people get going. And the length of the night vastly depends. Definitely had some nights that end after sunrise the next day. And had some nights that will end at like, dinner time, 6, 7. So it really depends on what needs to get done and if we're on any hard deadlines.
Right. And this is the perfect time to do this now. You're young, and I don't. Do you have kids or a family yet?
I don't, which to your point, exactly. It's very
Yeah.
doable.
So an old man like myself, I couldn't do a startup probably, but I do enjoy listening to young people doing their dreams and hustling and that sort of thing. So what's going to be next for you guys as you guys continue to progress into, just staying consistent?
I mean, next for us is going to be one expanding the team. Like, let's build this. We have the beginnings of a lot of things, and it's like, let's expand the team, expand the product offering, because we're capturing a lot of what people love, but we know we have so much more that we have the vision for that we want to take forward. So one of the big things is going to be even just adding more sports. Right now, we support football, basketball, MMA. We want to add baseball for their upcoming spring season, and we want to add soccer ahead of next year's World Cup. So those are definitely going to be huge. And then otherwise, it's just taking it as it comes.
And is there any government items that you need to check off, like run this business and kind of like take people's money and invest it, things like that? Like, what are there any hurdles that a company like you has when it comes to this sort of thing?
I mean, it's always just resource allocation for any young company. Just making sure you're spending money efficiently, hiring efficiently, doing the right thing, right? You can't afford to take the same risks that maybe that any of the big companies we talked about today, Google, Nike, Microsoft can take, because say Microsoft burns $1 million and it goes south, they're kind of like, okay, that was unfortunate, but we learned a lot. You burn $1 million, you learned a lot, yeah, and that's huge, but no one cares. That's all your money, so that's not really helpful.
Right.
Um,
And what's your burn rate on marketing right now? Are you guys spending a lot of money on marketing?
no, not really spending too much. Can't really say publicly, but um,
Sure.
most one of our biggest focuses has been efficient marketing. I if you're like, look, you can acquire if a customer acquisition cost of $1,000 is acceptable. Yeah, we can go give you $1,000 or spend $1,000 to drill ads into your specific head to get you there. But that does not work for a business, right? You need to start dropping that down to the single digits to cents, preferably. So that has been a big focus of our marketing.
Wow. Last couple of things. And where is the majority of your users coming from? Are they coming from the East Coast?
All over, all over. Definitely coming from the states. I'd say the major sports cities they're coming from the most. So we have, New York, LA, San Francisco, Miami. Those big sports cities. Those are bringing us a lot of users.
Good deal. Um, well, is there anything else that you would like to plug at this time? This would be the shameless plug segment of the show.
Hey, everyone, just make sure you download Prediction Strike on the App Store or sign up on the website. Follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram. We have a Reddit presence. Really, just follow us. Keep up with us, even if you're still just trying to find out more. Good way to learn about what it's all about and see our journey is to follow us.
And where can everybody follow you as well as Prediction Strike?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram is Devin Hurt, and that's Deven. And then Prediction Strike is on Twitter as Prediction Strike and Instagram or Twitter as at Prediction Strike, but the kind of username is Prediction Strike, and then blame Twitter's character limits for that one, and then on Instagram as Prediction Strike.
Good deal. And last question as we wrap it up. If there's somebody that should be beyond the buckets, who would it be? And before you say the name, you have to make the connection because that's how I get all my guests these days.
Ooh, let me. I got someone for you.
Yeah.
My friend KJ, who just started working. Well, he had been working at Overtime, but he
Okay.
just started working on Overtime Elite, which is really cool, really new space. So
That's
definitely
right up
brand new.
my alley right there. I love that.
There you go.
Good deal. Well, Devin, I really appreciate your time, brother. Class act. I really enjoyed you teaching me about a bunch of different things, and I really love conversations like this. So, thank you for joining the program.
Thank you, Chris. It was great.